Tell me something. Where do you find difficulties, or maybe not, maybe no difficulties, whatever you like to share. Mickey?
Good morning, everyone. So last week I shared something about thoughts, and I said that I was very aware of my thoughts and the different kinds of thoughts. And this week I decided I will be very aware of my body and body sensations, and that was also a revelation, because I realized that there are so many different sensations. For instance, whatever we're doing, there is a body sensation. Just sitting here talking to you and I'm using my hands, I'm touching my hands. So every touch is a sensation. Whatever we do, whether we're brushing our teeth, there's a lot of sensations with brushing our teeth,
Right.
etc. So even if you're just sitting reading, it's your body touching the chair and your back, and whether you're comfortable or not judging it, but just observing your feet walking on a carpet or just the floor, the temperature, etc. And then there's also the body sensations. I have a question about that, about the thoughts. So, because eventually I said, okay, now I'll be aware the whole day of my thoughts and my body sensations. So, am I right in saying that the thought déclenche, I can only think of the French word, the thought becomes an emotion, and then the emotion is a feeling, and then that feeling becomes a sensation in your body. Is that
Yeah, no, it's not quite the same. I mean, the emotions has nothing to do with body perception. I mean, it's
it
not
then
necessarily an emotion. The fact that what you're describing was like sensorial
yes,
perception, right?
yes.
Which are
But
not necessarily connected to emotions.
okay. But if you have a thought, then that thought could become a certain emotion. If you think
Yes,
something sad, then it's a sad emotion, and then but you do feel something in your body.
yes. Because of the emotion, you mean you feel something.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
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 So
So actually, do you think all your thoughts turns into a body sensation, or turn into a body sensation or not?
So the mind can affect the body to a very large extent. And as a matter of fact, mind and body are not separate in that sense. So, according to what thoughts we have, we can notice that the body reacts or responds to the certain thought in a certain way. Yeah. So often we made the example, if you have a scary thought, even though there is nothing scary happening in that moment, just a scary thought might get your heart rate increasing, for example, or it might get your adrenaline released in the body, because the body doesn't know the difference sometimes between a thought and a reality. So we can create reaction and responses in the body. And that's why we have to be very careful with our, what I call mental hygiene, because if you put in a thought with your mind, the body sometimes cannot tell the difference. It's really happening or it's just a thought, and it will respond.
Yeah.
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 So the same with emotions, emotions can be triggered oftentimes, most of the time are triggered by a thought. If we really observe, even if it's a thought that it's very subtle sometimes in the background, but still, if you really look, um, emotions are triggered by thoughts a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but then there is sensing, which is not necessarily dependent or connected to thinking.
Mm.
So there is just sensing, and that's what we use in the anchors. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm not sure what the question was and if I answered to that.
Yeah, you did answer it.
Yeah.
In fact, if say someone says something to you and that's not resonating with you, there is a re,
A
um,
response, a
a
reaction.
response in the body. But then um, I'm not very good at that yet. But then you can decide what you want to do with it. So you can
Yes.
also respond, and then you can turn it into and how can I say it? Instead of being tense about it, you can
Yeah.
relax into it.
Oh, you mean like if somebody says something nasty at you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's something that triggers a reaction in you, yeah,
Yes.
instead of a response. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But you have
Yeah.
to practice. You have to practice.
Yeah. That's what you're referring to, is the difference between a response and a reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So,
put myself
yeah. Yeah.
clearly.
So a reaction is something that comes automatically. For example, a reaction from your ego that is feeling hurt in that moment, or it feels like you're not respecting me, or you're putting me down, or you don't think I'm good enough, or whatever. So the ego will react immediately by lashing back, for example. No, a response is like, okay, you wait and you feel, oh, how this gonna make me feel now, and you feel it, and then you decide. You take a moment to feel it and pondering and pause, and you decide how you want to respond. Is it worth starting a conversation with this person, or maybe not at all? You might choose to just like brush it aside and say, okay, goodbye, or whatever. It's not worth getting involved because I feel there is no space in the other person to even hear a response. Or maybe you feel like, yeah, there is space and it's worth trying. And so you try to respond in a way that can be received. Yeah. So these are all possible responses. A
Yeah,
reaction is just like immediate,
yeah,
and it's and it's not always the best solution because it doesn't, it just creates more karma, let's say. you know Somebody hurts you and then you hurt back. Okay. And then what?
yeah,
What happened? Nothing is resolved, right?
yeah. And you feel terrible afterwards.
Yeah, you might feel terrible. The other feel terrible. So, or, everybody's hurt and nobody's listening to anybody and nothing is resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the difference between reacting and responding. Yeah.
Mm.
So out of a space of meditation, you will find more often a response
Yes.
will arise, not a reaction. Because a reaction, you feel it immediately. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go back in my own ego. I'm gonna go into the other person's ego. What's the point? We're not interested in that. So connecting with the heart is often a nice way to pause and find a response that comes from their heart instead of a reactive, egoic mind, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it happened to me yesterday, and I thought after all, these years of meditation, I wouldn't fall into that trap, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also working on myself, not being disappointed in myself.
Right.
I allowed it for a while.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice talking to you about it because it's just putting it out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the main thing is that you saw that, you notice it, you know, and you can't expect to be, untouchable by anything. I mean, we feel things, you know. Sometimes we get hurt, and there's nothing wrong in feeling hurt. Just because you've been meditating many years doesn't mean you don't feel hurt. On the contrary, maybe you feel even more hurt than years ago because you are more sensitive, you know, you're more open, you are more vulnerable. Yeah. My master used to call it the strength of a rose, which, a rose it's very delicate too, it doesn't take much to crash it, you know. So in a way, meditation will open up many of your centers and you'll become more and more sensitive. And so also you will feel more easily pain as well as joy, and hurt as much as love and other emotions and feelings. So it's important not to get into this idea that, oh, I've been meditating so many years, I should be untouchable. I know I shouldn't feel anything, or I shouldn't feel hurt, or I should be, I should know better. But then, yes, how we choose to respond or react, that is our choice. But not the feeling hurt. That's not a choice. If you feel hurt, you feel hurt. That's totally fine. It's human and it's natural. So maybe you say, instead of reacting, you might feel in your heart and you go like, the reaction would be, for example, anger towards this person that you feel it has hurt you, no? So immediate reaction, you hurt back. Or you tune into your heart and you say, well, what's happening here? Ouch, I feel hurt. Oh, that's what it is. I feel it in my heart. And then you might stop, and then you might decide to tell this person, you know what? Actually, I feel hurt. What you told me now, it really hurt me. I feel it in my heart. Simply that. Sometimes it's just beautiful to be able to express that hurt. Not expecting that the other person will understand and will suddenly become enlightened, but just for you to be able to express that you feel hurt, it can be very healing in that moment. So,
Yes, thank you.
yeah. Thank you for sharing. We all go through this kind of dynamics. They're very daily dynamics, no? They happen in many ways. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, Mickey.
Thank you.
Okay. Somebody else wants to share something?
Yes.
Maria. Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of times this week for meditate. I was very busy.
Yeah.
And so I didn't sit just once or twice. But what I realized was that in my old day life, walking with a dog and doing something,
Yeah.
I was more present,
Mhm.
and I just a walk with a dog in the morning, the weather and the coldness and the wind and the birds twittering
Yes.
and this dog running around. It was it was really a pleasure to differentiate all these. Yes, what I don't know. I don't know what.
Sensations.
Yes, yes, and
Sensations. Yeah.
this was a very enriched my all day life. Was
Yes. Yes.
helpful.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true. Isn't it a nice feeling when we feel, oh, wow, I'm more present. You just realize, there's not much mind activities and you're just enjoying every small thing that is happening, like the wind on your face.
Mhm.
How beautiful is that, And the way you walk and the way the dog is pulling you. And you try to pull him back. Yeah, so we go back to the fact that the body is always present. Yeah. So the more present we become, naturally, the more connected with the body we become too. So we start feeling more through the body. We start sensing more. We start seeing suddenly, like, wow, the trees are more green than usual, or the sky is more blue than I ever seen it, or the contrast between those white clouds and the blue sky, it's amazing. Suddenly you notice things that usually when the mind is busy you're not able to. And we go back to the famous cup of tea. Can you enjoy it while you drink it, or you're thinking a million of other things that you have to do and you don't even realize you're drinking a tea? So yeah, that's becoming present. It seems such a simple thing, isn't it? It is a simple thing. But sometimes we're so used to this inner chattering that when it stops and suddenly we feel while we were just present, it's like, oh wow, it's something special, no? Because a lot of the time we spend it in our mind, so we're not present. We are in a virtual reality that is not here and now. And so when we fall into the present moment for whatever reason, because we are meditating or because every day is different, you woke up in a good mood, or you feel particularly quiet inside, suddenly, boom, you fall into the present moment. And that can happen any moment, of course. And then you realize, oh, I'm present because I'm really feeling everything, I'm sensing everything, I'm enjoying small things. And how beautiful is that? It gives you there is a peace in that sense of presence. When we are present, there is a peace. So it's very relaxing, and it's like a relief actually when the mind shuts up. It's like, silence, sounds. Suddenly you hear all kind of sounds that you were not hearing before. Oh, that little bird back there, wow, I didn't even notice it before. Or the sound of the water running, in the background, I didn't even hear it. And then the mind stops and you hear everything. So that brings me to remembering that we haven't talked about the third anchor together. And so I want to introduce that today briefly. I know that some of you have heard that already, especially the guys like Miki and Samaya that are in my Italian group, and Gulnur. You heard this many times, and Mac here also knows it. But here we go. So let me show you a reminder on my screen here of, so we talk about the first two anchors already, yeah? And we practice, hopefully everybody is practicing that. So again, anchors means remaining present through feeling, yeah? Just what we were talking about, feeling through the body, of course. Feeling through the senses is one of the most powerful anchors, just because, as we said, the body is always present. So feeling the body and starting, like we start usually our guided meditation by feeling the earth, the grounding, and the weight of the body, the weight of all parts of the body, and let that happen. You know, we saw how it anchors everything. And then sky energy, we also talked about that. Then the second anchor we practiced was feeling the breath. And the third one is listening. So I'll send you this chart on the Telegram group so you have it. Sound and silence, without labeling, judging, or defining. Okay, so this is a very strong anchor and very easy. Easy because, let me remove this thing. Easy because the ears are always open. We don't have to, it's not an effort of any kind. Yeah. And so it's a very passive, receptive, feminine sense, the hearing, that is always open, always receptive. But when the mind is very busy, we don't hear much, you know, or when we are unconscious, we don't hear. So when we think a lot, it's one way to be unconscious. We definitely are not present. But also when we fall asleep, for example. So if you fall asleep in front of the TV, even if TV might have a loud sound, you don't hear anything anymore. In the moment you fall asleep, you don't hear anything. You sleep. So you are deeply unconscious and you cannot hear. In a subtler way, when we are in the daytime and we're thinking a lot, we're also not conscious a lot of the time, and we miss a lot of what is happening around us, including sounds. So when we become very present, we start not only sensing the wind, for example, and feeling through touch, feeling the breath, but also we start hearing more and we start noticing sounds much more. So simply by listening attentively, we become present, and vice versa. When we become present, suddenly we hear much more. But we can reverse that and use it as an anchor. That's why it's our third anchor. We just start listening attentively with all our attention. In the moment we do that, when we enter very attentively into the sounds might acquire a different quality to them. Sometimes it's a little bit like, I remember when I was a child and I would just be in bed, either going to bed in the evening or wake up in the morning or just taking a nap. And then I would hear my mother in the kitchen and the pots moving around and the people in the house. And I remember those moments, like those sounds were magical to me, you know? Oh yeah, the sounds of the forks and hitting the plates or whatever, you know, and somebody washing dishes. I was so present that even those sounds, they were musical. There was something beautiful in them, you know, and comforting, of course, too. But that's similar what happens when we move deeply into listening to the sounds. The sounds acquire a certain musicality to them. Yeah. And that's why I love a beautiful poem by Rumi that used to say, when I become still and quiet inside, I fall into the space where everything is music. That's what he's talking about. It doesn't mean he was listening to actual music played by instrument, but every sound becomes musical. Hmm. When you start feeling that, you know you're present. You're falling into the present moment. Yeah. So we use that, and we're going to practice that today. Listening to sounds. How many of you are hearing sounds from the outside, from where you are? Let's see. Okay, quite a few. Most of you. Okay, good. So we listen to everything that is, all the sounds that are happening. And much like when we observe in the mindful meditation, we do not label them. Make sure you let every sound be exactly what they are. So be very careful, because the mind will come in sometime and go like, oh, this sound is so beautiful, so soothing. Oh, this is disturbing. I wish it was not there. Be careful, because the mind wants to separate again and label and judge and put everything in boxes. So if the mind comes in, you're not present anymore. So allow sounds to be exactly what they are, neither good nor bad, neither pleasant or unpleasant. It's just a sound. And then even some sound that your mind might judge disturbing, it might even become musical. You'll be surprised. So let all sound just be what they are without any judgment, okay? Simply listen. And you will notice how quiet you become inside. You become very still, and you enter a different space through sounds. So what happens when there are no sounds? This is very important too. Between two sounds, there is silence. Or when there are no sounds, there is silence. Silence is also always there, because it is the background on which all sounds exist. If you were a painter, you would visualize it as silence is the white canvas, and the sounds are the colors that you use to paint on the canvas. If you are an astronomer, you would think of it like silence is the black space, the black sky in the night, and sounds are the stars. Yeah. Silence is always there. Even when there are sounds, a lot of sounds, underneath there is always silence. Otherwise, you could not hear the sounds. So we can become aware of the physical silence because there are no sounds happening in that moment. This is good. So not only we listen to sounds, we listen to silence too. Again, when you become aware of silence, usually it's because you're silent inside, and vice versa. When you listen to silence, you become silent inside. At a certain point, you will feel, oh, I don't know which is out and in anymore, because the inner silence and the outer silence have the same quality, and they start merging. That happens too. That's totally okay, and it's beautiful when that happens. I'm just preparing you. You might feel that way too. Like through silence, you lose a little bit the borders, the definition of your physical form and what is inside and what is outside. It becomes just a big pool of silence. Also important to realize that silence is one of the three elements of the S Trinity. We talked about silence, stillness, and space. They are qualities of consciousness. Yeah. So if we have to define consciousness again, we said, well, it could be space, but it's also silence and it's also stillness. So tuning into silence, the outer silence, helps you tune into the inner silence, which means it helps you connect more to consciousness, to pure consciousness. So in silence, what we perceive in silence is consciousness. Yeah, that silent space that is aware of everything is consciousness. Silence also means stillness because the mind is not running. Yeah. So when there is silence, there is also stillness. And there is also space. So the Trinity is present always. But you can enter from any of the three doors. You can enter from stillness. You can enter from the sense of space. Today we enter through sound, through silence. Sound and silence. Okay. So we're going to do that in the guided meditation. And I guide you through a little bit in the beginning. And then for those of you that do not have outer sounds, I will also help you by playing some sounds. So if you have a possibility to connect a speaker to your computer in an easy way, you can do it right now. Otherwise, using the speaker from the computer is okay. But for example, I have an option to turn on my speakers. They're connected to my computer. Sometimes you have an outer Bluetooth or whatever, turn it on now. If you don't, it's okay, don't worry. Just make sure your volume is on. So there will be different sounds coming. We just listen and be present through that, okay? So find a comfortable position to sit. And when you're ready, you can close your eyes. Starting by feeling the body from inside. Relaxing any area that is a little bit tense still. Letting go. And feeling as you let go, you become a little heavier. You become more aware of the weight of your body, connecting to the earth. Letting the body sink a little more into the seat. And imagine a light thread connecting to the top of your head, coming from above and pulling you up very, 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 very gently. The attraction of the sky energy, it's there as well. So feeling rooted and grounded in the earth, but also sustained, uplifted by the sky. And in between these two forces, we notice the inner space. We notice the breathing happening on its own, beautifully happening without us doing anything. And in this space, we also notice that there is a perception of sounds. The sound of my voice, and you must start noticing sounds coming from the outside. And today we just maintain our attention on the perception of sounds. And we notice when there are no sounds, we notice the silence. And we listen to the silence too. We notice how silent we become when we truly listen. We become very quiet. And we also become very silent inside. And slowly coming back. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. How was that? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Rafaela, tell me. Tell us.
Hi. Thank you. It was there were several steps.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, I was hearing here,
In the back of the head. Mm-hmm.
and then I was try to get contact to the inside space, and it's on my head, and it was changing because I have it was an opening, and I was getting bigger.
Yes.
Then was afraid, paura,
Okay,
afraid.
afraid. Mm-hmm.
Was I had opening to the silence was
Scary.
yeah, it was like opening to life,
Mm.
something like abandon or um, devotion, abandon, and was ooh, about square about abandon or the opening to life to
Yes.
what is coming, and I was really happy to go to get the sounds,
Yeah.
and then the silence was scary, and then I was embracing to be scary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Deep inside, I was finding love.
Yeah.
Whew. I I was not aware how much I'm scared to open to life,
Mm.
really to open to life. No?
Yes. Beautiful. Beautifully expressed. Yeah. It's like that. When we become very still and quiet, and when this silence, often as you express it, also there's a sense of expansion sometimes. No? It's like you're getting bigger. It's like suddenly you're not so limited to your physical body. You feel a little bigger than that. And that in itself can be a scary thing at first, because we're not used to. We're used to feel, okay, I'm this, this is the edge of my body, and this is who I am, you know. But suddenly there is a perception that is like your consciousness is expanding, and it can be a little bit like, whoa, new feeling, and can be also scary. But nothing, don't worry, nothing bad can happen to you. You're simply more present, more quiet, and your consciousness is expanding. It's nothing strange. It's just strange because we're not used to it, but there's nothing unnatural. And then the depth and the silence and that spaciousness, sometimes you might feel like you're falling into the void or something. It's like a little bit of a scary feeling, that too. And but what is scared, it's really our egoic mind. That's what's the part that is really getting afraid, because it feels like it's losing control. There's nothing to hold on to. And the space can feel so vast sometimes and so deep. And the mind, it cannot deal with it. And that's okay, because the mind is not made for that. The mind is made to deal with the world of form. It's made to function in life in 1001 ways. Beautiful thing, but is not made to penetrate the inner consciousness. It cannot. So when we start moving into these spaces of deeper silence, deeper space, expansion, unknown depth, the mind cannot deal with it, and it gets also triggered and scared. So it's like, whoa, hold on, come back. Where are you going? I don't know what's this space about. I can't deal with this. It's okay, don't worry, just let go. Nothing bad can happen to you. But you also don't be scared if you see that you're afraid, or don't start judging that you're afraid. It's okay, it's normal, and this just like you're getting to know yourself in a deeper way. So you're also, through practice, you're bound to touch spaces that are not known. You never touched them before. Beautiful. It's a journey. And so sometimes you feel hesitant, sometimes you might feel scared. It's okay. Just realize that is not you. Consciousness is not scared. Your witnessing consciousness does not get scared. It's more either your body, if it's a primal scare, like if you have a lion in front of you, and your adrenaline is being pumped to 1,000 to the max, that's a good scared. Your body is reacting. It's also normal, natural. Or other times it comes from the mind, just the egoic mind, that the ego feels like I'm disappearing. Hold on, wait, I need something to hold on to. So we watch that too. We release it. We keep letting go. If we want to, if we're sitting here, it means we want to, right? We want to penetrate deeper into the mystery of who we are. So we'll just allow the fears to arise, and also then we let it go and realize that, okay, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just my mind freaking out. Let me just let go a little more. This space is beautiful. It's unknown. Let me explore it. Because fear will prevent me from exploring deeply. So we let it go. Yeah, beautiful, Rafaela. This is normal. This is beautiful how you described it, all the different stages.
It was helping me to 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 say it, to go there, to take contact also with the earth and with the sky.
Yeah.
Is it? Yes, it was helping me. I don't know if it was my mind. I don't know.
No, don't worry. Whatever helps. Whatever helps to be more present, to stay more with what is, it's good. Don't think it's your mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the anchors are good too. Sometimes if you feel like, whoa, the space is too vast, or you feel like you're getting a little scared of that, spaciousness, then you can ground yourself into earth energy and sky energy. Go back to that. And that is why it's important to, why grounding is such an important thing, because the deeper the roots of a tree, the higher the tree can grow, right? So the more we root into the body, like we were talking in the beginning, becoming more and more mindful of all the body sensations, connect with the body more, be in them, embody ourselves, because we are an embodied consciousness, right? So the more we get rooted into the body, the more we actually will allow us to also move away from it sometime, move into space, move into silence, move into the unknown. Because we have strong roots, we can go back to them anytime we need to. But if we're not rooted, it might get a little bit too much, everything. So grounding is very important, because the more you're grounded, the deeper your meditation will go. The more rooted you are, the more you will allow yourself to explore not only the earth, but also the sky. Not only matter, but also space. Not only sounds, but also silence. Yeah, so they're complementary. Something else that wants to be shared? Yeah, Abhilasha.
I felt very nourished, the body. I realized that I'm resisting a lot with my body. I don't know. And suddenly I can be receptive. The body can be receptive. And that was a great, like, wow, so nourishing. All these different sounds and the silence, that I could let it also inside the body.
Yeah.
Because I really tense a lot. I noticed that.
Yes.
I become more aware to also to feel it in the body.
Yes. Yeah.
To really not to leave the body out somehow. I always was going far out. And then it's difficult to come to really to combine the two things, to be embodied. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Yes.
Very, very beautiful.
Yeah, we were talking about it with you last time. When you have, for example, a lot of pain in the body, how easy it is to go like, whoa, I don't want to have anything to do with my body anymore. It's like, it's so easy to go there, no? But the pain doesn't quite go away, and actually we create a resistance.
Yeah, resistance.
And so even if you don't have pain, we so much somatize everything, the body. We don't realize how tense the body is. We realize that when we relax completely. Then we realize it's like, oh my God, I was so tense. I feel like, oh my God, my body feels so relaxed. I feel like a puddle of water. It's like, I'm just like, yeah. It's like if you have a headache your whole life, and only when the headache goes away, you realize, wow, that's amazing. I didn't even know I had a headache because I had it my whole life. So the same when we deeply relax through practice and the body feeling so relax and loose, and we're just in a let go state. Then we realize, my God, I'm so tense usually. I'm not even aware of it.
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing about this anchor is that you can do it wherever you are in any moment. You know, if you are in your bathtub with your head under the water, you can do it there. If you are at the fruit market, buying a grocery, you can do it there. Yeah, you can do it anywhere. And realizing, oh yeah, the ears are always open. But am I hearing or not? Am I listening or not? And so, or you might be sitting in a train or in a bus or in your car driving, or, maybe there is a red light and you're just sitting there waiting for the red light, or there's a train passing and your car had to stop. And you just become present and you start hearing all the sounds around that you were not hearing before. You're not noticing them. And you can use it as a way to bring yourself back to the present moment. You can sit on a bench in a park or even in the middle of the traffic area. All sounds become an anchor into the present moment. If you remove the label, oh, I don't like car sounds, mechanic sounds, just remove that, because what creates a disturbance is your judgment. Yeah. In the moment you say, I don't like this sound, that becomes really a disturbance, that sound. The more you dislike it, the more disturbant it will be. And if you just let it be for what it is much better. Then you will notice, oh yeah, there's not so much resistance. Because in the moment I put a judgment up, I create a wall inside, and the sound can start hitting this wall. If I remove the wall of my judgment, the sound comes and goes. There's nothing inside to bounce against. And that's for everything, not only for sounds. Yeah. If we start judging our mind, we just feed the mind even more. Whatever we fight against, we give it energy. If we fight with our ego, we just nourish our ego. If we fight with the sound, we make the sound even more strong inside. Same. Because as we were saying, whatever we give attention to, we feed that, we nourish that. So when we bring our attention to the space between two thoughts, to that silent space, we nourish that space. When we bring our attention to the thought, we nourish our thinking mind. It's our choice. Where do I want to put my attention now? In the space that is the present moment, or not, somewhere else? So remember that, wherever you put your attention, you're going to nourish that thing. So it's your choice. Yeah, Aura.
When you said not to fight, because then you give it more energy. These days, like I came to my parents' house after a year, and I'm constantly inside fighting with my mom. I feel like I will become her carbon copy, and I tend to not want to meditate, and I feel just angry. I feel like, God, I don't want to be her carbon copy. So, but I cannot stop fighting because I feel so vulnerable to her in a way. And then it feels like I'm completely lost if I'm sitting with her for 1 or 2 hours. I'm like, I can't find myself again, you know.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know how to not fight.
Yeah. Well, this brings up an important issue, which is what does it mean to have healthy boundaries? Yeah. So maybe now you're getting confused about having healthy boundaries and fighting. It's not necessarily the same. So there are situations where you feel like you need to bring up your boundaries because the world, it might be your mom or can be anything else outside, wants to go in and you don't want them to come in, you know, right now. So sometimes it's okay to be aware of that and set up boundaries. Say, okay, look, I love you, everything is okay, but this is me, and that on that side it's you, and on this side is me, you know, and make it clear inside of yourself. Also with the other person if you want, but above all with yourself, you know. So you're not just like a victim of anything that comes, but you are asserting yourself, asserting your boundaries. I say, this is my boundaries. It's okay. Inside this space right now, I just want to be just myself. I don't want to have any other influence coming in. Yeah, so it's not necessarily a fight. Yeah. So that's what I call healthy boundaries.
I try because it's so difficult even to find myself.
It's,
I feel completely lost, you know.
yes.
Like, I don't know what is me. What do I even establish a boundary on?
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, they say if you think if at a certain point you think you're really enlightened, to make sure, go spend a week with your parents in their home and see, and see if after a week you're still enlightened. So that's the most challenging thing because it's so close to us, and our whole personality has been formed within those four walls, you know, and within the family, you know. A lot of our ego structure has been created within the family structure. So going back there, it brings you back more to who you were, to who you were formed to be. So unless your new self has really got a strong grip and a strong space in you, it's easy to feel pulled back into the old pattern, the old reactions, the old dynamics, family dynamics between people, you know. It takes time and it takes maturity. Um, so don't worry, it will happen. And keep practicing. How old are you now, Aura?
2024, gonna be
24.
25 now.
Okay. So I left my family and I went as far as I could from them without wanting it really, but I found myself, you know, my mother one day told me, I mean, of all places in the world, you have to go to Hawaii to live. You know, it's like exactly on the opposite side of the planet from where we are. I said, dude, I didn't do it on purpose, but it's okay. And it took me a long time, you know, when I left Italy, it took me a long time to, I mean, for years, I didn't even want to speak Italian. Even if I would meet an Italian abroad, I would speak English. I was so like, you know, when you had enough of your culture and all the conditioning and you go like, oh God, enough is enough, you know? So I was in a total reaction, which was okay. It was healthy. For me, it was necessary to set the boundaries to release all this stuff that has been put in my head, you know? And then after maybe, it took me a while, maybe after like 15, 20 years. When I would go back, visit my family, slowly, I started noticing that there was no button pushed anymore. You know, when before it was like, it was so easy to piss me off, or just I would get into a reaction, or just like, and then suddenly in time I realized, oh, it's not touching me anymore. I'm not reacting. I'm not affected by it anymore, you know? And so, but it took quite some time. And then I knew, oh, I can even go and spend time in Italy again and even enjoy being with my family again, because I managed to create that distance, you know. I released that old conditioning. So there's nothing So that happens with time, but it takes time. So don't worry, Aura. You're doing great. Hang in there.
I
Keep
love
practicing.
technique because then I can do this for hours, you know, because I started learning violin a year ago with amazing German teacher. So, and then he often tells me this, but when it's hard to avoid not to judge when you're playing something scratchy, you know.
It's true.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing this more.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Mickey, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes.
There.
Maybe I can say how I dealt with that as well, because I'm 10,000 kilometers from where I was born. Also, I never really felt I feel I wasn't born in the right country. And
Were you born in South Africa?
South Africa, yes. Yeah. But I was always a foreigner in South Africa all my life. But just with regard to I can't remember your name. Aura.
Aura.
Aura. What helped me a lot with my, also, I feel I was born in the wrong family as well. I love them very much, but yeah. But what helped me also now, sometimes going back, is just to try and understand them, and not have any expectations of them understanding me. And that's just a switch in my mind. And since I have this approach, things are okay. Because when I'm there, I'm still where I am now, my true self, but I'm not expecting them to understand who I am.
Yeah. That's a very central point when that starts happening, when you're not expecting them to understand you.
Yes.
And then the next step, you start feeling like, oh, I am the grown up and then they are the children. At a
Yes.
certain point, you start feeling like that.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's sweet.
And
It's
and
very
also
sweet.
appreciating who they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
And
You just love them for who they are, and you don't expect or want anything from them because you found it within yourself and you're whole. So
yeah.
you don't need them to reflect who you are anymore.
But when I was there, I was often hurt because, I was searching for who I am, and I was trapped in this situation where, where it was like there's so many boundaries and so many things holding me back.
Yeah.
And yeah, and obviously with meditation, and one gets wiser and have a different approach. So I thought that could help you, Aura.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mickey. Okay. Lovely sharing with all of you. Very, very nice. So we close it here today. It was rich with a lot of insights and sharing and beautiful spaces. And you know, if you ever want to share something with me during the week, you can always send me an email. And or you just, if you have a question, it's like, oh shit, maybe I don't want to forget this. You write it down, and next time you can ask me. It's also fine, huh? Okay. So namaste, everybody. Kisses and hugs. And I'll see you next Friday. Ciao.